Hey, I'm JD Hagler with Aux'Arc Climbing. We're going to do another Patreon video today. We're going to talk about dyeing your holds. When you first cast a couple, you'll notice that off-white's really not that appealing. You don't really want it on a wall. It doesn't look good. In fact, I'd almost look at doing a white dye to actually make it a true white instead of that off-color cream nonsense that it comes out to be. So almost even with your first purchase, I would grab a $4 or $5 bottle of dye. It's worth having. So we're going to talk about dyeing today. We're going to try and get you through some of the process of getting the right ratios and whatnot. I don't know if the instructions on the bottle are worth anything, actually. If you follow the instructions on the bottle, you get this really light, wasted color that I don't actually like at all. It doesn't match anything that's out there. So if you want to match something that's out there, there's a couple of good reasons to do that. A, the colors that are out there already look good. B, if you're going to do just your home gym, you don't care what color they are. They can be all black for all you care, you know, and a good chunk of mine will be. It doesn't matter. But if you're trying to match an existing gym's color, or if you're trying to donate to the local gym, or even to sell your holds, or anything, really, it's in your best interest to try and match those colors pretty early on, so that way they're already there. My oranges are good, my blacks are good, my blues are the ones I don't have matched right now, and so that's what I'm trying to figure out today. Before you get started, there's a couple things you probably should have for dyeing specifically. I want to hit the nylon gloves again. The nylon gloves are good for pouring, period, but they're really good for the dye. The dye gets everywhere. It's like easy out for bolts, you know, that it just gets everywhere. That nickel graphite nonsense, it just spreads all over the place. This resin dye will never dry, it seems like. It will always, I don't know that it does dry. I think it just sits there on your table for 4 years until you bump it with your elbow. But before you figure out that you've got this giant blue dye spot on your elbow, you've already touched your shirt, you've already touched your pants, you've already touched your wife. It gets everywhere. So wear some gloves, keep an eye on the dye, try not to spill it because it will go everywhere and it will dye everything blue and it will never dry. So nylon gloves, paper towels, be aware of it. The ones that I've got come in little dropper bottles. Those dropper bottles like to plug up pretty bad. So like if you're overexerting pressure and you can't understand really why it's not working, it's probably there for some reason. It's dried nowhere else, but it's dried in that nozzle. And you'll blow that nozzle off and you'll blow half of the blue dye into your mold, and then you get this nonsense, which is essentially black, but it's actually blue. This is way too much dye. So what I would recommend is trying to find something like I've got a 2-year-old boy. You may have heard him in the background in a couple of these videos, and we've got a bunch of the kids' Tylenol, and those little syringe, open-ended syringes for kids' Tylenol is perfect. So I've got a bunch of those that I've kind of squirreled away and cleaned out to put in my different dyes, and that's what I'm going to use to try and get an exact judgment. Otherwise, I've just been kind of like counting the drops, and that's fairly inconsistent. It works for a lot of what you're going to do, but I'm trying to get more precise than that. So I've got the Tylenol syringes to do that. So gloves, syringe, paper towels. I've already talked about measuring cups when you're doing your resin. You need that anyways, but it's even more important now when you're trying to get the quantifiable ratio between how much resin you're using and how much dye you need to use, because the ratios are really one-sided. I mean, it's not much dye that we use, which is why the syringes are so nice. So the other thing I've noted that when I'm trying to do a bunch of smaller holds, like I was just going to do a bunch of little tiny holds, like 25 milliliters of resin, but it's almost impossible to get a small enough amount of dye to work with that small amount of resin. I think in this video I do all 50 milliliter, so you're almost better off doing a minimum of 100 milliliters or even 200 before you start trying to get the quantifiable dye amount. Otherwise, just do a drop or two maybe. Or just never do less than 200 milliliters of resin at a time. Maybe 100. I think 50 is kind of too small. Like I barely use that syringe to get the right amount of dye for 50 milliliters of resin. So those are the things to keep in mind. Gloves, syringe if you can get it, paper towels. Be aware that this stuff never dries. It never gets out of your clothes. It's horrible. But make sure holds look really nice. So I'm going to print out about 4 copies of my holds. I'm going to try and get the right amount ratio, and then I'm going to take them to the gym. I'm going to compare them to holds that are already on the wall, so I know where I'm at and what measurement works the best. So we'll hop right to it, and I hope this works out for you. Alright, having a lot of difference here. This is kind of the keystone. You can see it's a little bit lighter, but not much lighter. Man, I still use those in the same set almost. So we're gonna try half a mark here. These are divvied up into, you know, 1/5 of a milliliter. Let's see if we can try 1/10. Good. That looks like an actual little dot there. Alright, let's make this up. See what this gives us. Hey, starting to come around there. These are starting to look decent. Pop these out. Alright. That's a stark difference from what we've been seeing. It looks pretty good. I think we're going to do one more lighter, and I'll go match it against some existing holds, and we'll see where we're going to land at here.